Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar from Cambium Networks on the Network Service Edge. My name is Trevor Miranda. I'm a Chief Architect for Enterprise at Cambium. And I'm happy to introduce to you a product today that we launched around a year ago called the Network Service Edge, and talk a little bit about the product, about where it could fit within the portfolio that you offer to your customers. So you might be familiar with Cambium, familiar with our enterprise networking portfolio. Our latest addition to this is the Network Service Edge, NSE. What is it? This is a converged platform that converges three different areas of activity. The first is the WAN Edge. The WAN Edge includes the typical features you would expect from an SD-WAN product. So it of course does basic routing and can replace a router, but it goes beyond that. You're able to connect multiple WAN links to it, and this device can perform load balancing and failover across those WAN links. Increasingly, customers opt to move towards SD-WAN instead of dedicated MPLS links, obviously for cost reasons. And it's often much more cost-effective to have multiple commercial WAN links, direct internet access, rather than a single MPLS link. But at the same time, you need to be able to provide that same level of reliability, the same level of performance using these links. So the NSE there can perform load balancing and failover. It can shape your traffic so that the less important traffic is limited and preference is given to your more important business related traffic. You can perform QoS across these links. You can decide what kind of traffic goes across each link. You can decide whether when you have a backup link which might have lower capacity, what kind of traffic is allowed. For example, perhaps you have a guest network that is important to the business on site, but when you fail over to a secondary link that might be an LTE or some other slower link, you only want to allow, say, payment systems traffic to go through it and stop the guest traffic. You can do things like that. And you can use these links as either active, you can use them in load sharing mode, you can use them as active backup. The second set of features that the NSE offers is related to security, because we know that regardless of the size of your business, regardless of what vertical you're dealing with, businesses are a prime target for attacks, whether it's from malicious foreign actors, whether it's from just somebody looking to extort somebody for ransomware, or it could simply be the business is an unwitting attack of some sort of malware. So the features and security today need to go beyond a basic firewall, where you have 5-tuple rules allowing and denying certain traffic. Right? Every business, whether it's small or large, requires IDS, IPS. Most distributed businesses require some kind of site-to-site VPN. Many are interested in content filtering. This might also be more applicable to areas such as schools. We offer a DNS-based content filtering with over 88 categories, which are updated in real time. We have VPN, and it's not just remote VPN, but remote VPN with multi-factor authentication. And all these features I talked about previously, whether it's the SD-WAN features or the security features, they tie into a deep packet inspection engine that's on the system that identifies thousands of different applications. And when you build the rules, whether it's rules to decide what kind of traffic goes across your WAN links, whether it's rules to decide what traffic is prioritized or what traffic is blocked, all of these are based around this deep packet inspection that feeds into our application visibility and control. So you don't necessarily have to create firewall rules based on IP address and port numbers, because frankly, that is something that doesn't work very well nowadays, because everything is, most traffic is over HTTP port 443. It's secured, it goes to the cloud. So what we really need is something that identifies whether this is Teams traffic, or whether this is Netflix, or whether this is Zoom, or whether this is, say, an Xbox download that's going on. And based on that, make the identification of the application of the traffic, and based on that, prioritize it or deprioritize it. Now, besides these features which you might have seen in comparable products, we do have a few more features that are rather unique to the NSE and which also address the most current threats that your customers face. The first is LAN vulnerability assessment. What this does is, since we are in the network and since we have visibility into every device that joins the network, we are able to keep track of all these devices and perform a scan from the outside and figure out whether the product is running some vulnerable software. This is a completely agentless scan, so you don't have to install anything on the laptop or the phone or the PC. Instead, we look at what ports are open to the network and try to identify what application is behind that particular port. For example, let's say you have a camera that happens to be hosting a FTP server. When we detect that camera that joins the network, we scan it for vulnerabilities, and we say, hey, this is running an FTP server that's outdated, and there is a known vulnerability, and this is the vulnerability, and you should update the firmware on this particular device. And we link to the CVE database, which gives you details of when the vulnerability was found, what is the severity, and what are the potential vendor fixes. Now, of course, you could do this with a separate tool, but the great thing about the NSE is that it's built into the product, and to the same console that you manage your networking, you can also manage this aspect of security. And of course, it's always on. It's run whenever the device is detected, as well as periodically. So it's not something you need to schedule separately. The other unique feature here is IoT security. And we start off with identifying what these IoT devices are, because today, there are, no matter what kind of business it is, there are a large number of IoT devices, whether it's cameras, whether it's printers, whether it's thermostats, light bulb switches. There are increasing number of these devices. And unlike, say, a IT managed laptop or phone, where you could potentially install a mobile device management software on it, agent on it, and then monitor it that way, IT often doesn't have visibility into even what these devices are. Often what they are limited to is being able to track the MAC address of the device, a new device that shows up, and then try to find out what exactly it is by having someone on site try to track it down. On the other hand, what we do here through the NSE is we monitor the traffic from these devices. We capture various fingerprints as to what this device is doing, and pick up certain signatures from its patterns of requesting an IP address over DHCP, what servers it talks to, and so on, run through a machine learning based algorithm, and spit out the identity of the device. So we are able to tell you what class of device it is, whether it's a smart switch, whether it's a light bulb, whether it's a camera. We're able to often tell you what manufacturer it belongs to and what kind of software it's running in some cases too. So this takes away a lot of the headaches and helps take away the blind spot IT has with respect to these IoT devices. Now, when you look at the list of devices on site, you not only see a MAC address, but you see that it's, hey, maybe it's a rogue Wi-Fi access point, maybe it's a camera that was not supposed to be there, maybe it's a printer that is unsanctioned by the business, and immediately take action whether you need to block it, whether you need to say, hey, it's okay, but we'll allow it onto this network, and so on. The third set of features that the NSE offers is related to services. And today it offers some basic services that are required for you to bring up your site. Obviously, there's DHCP and DNS. But there's also services like Radius. So for instance, if you need to bring up a WPA enterprise network on site, rather than simply having a Wi-Fi network dealing with shared keys. Instead, here you have the Radius server already available. You don't need to set up a separate Radius server in a VM. You can just configure the one on the NSE and use that for your wireless authentication. And the same database is then used by things like remote VPN. So you have a single database that allows your users to use one set of credentials that's updated at one time to access all these services. So all these combined are offered in the NSE. This completes the set of devices you need to bring up an enterprise network along with our Wi-Fi and switching. And just like a Wi-Fi and switching, the NSE is managed by CN Maestro. So you have a single pane of glass that you can use to manage the entire enterprise network. So before moving on to the next slide, if you do have any questions, please ask them as we go along. You'll find a little box in your GoToWebinar control panel that will let you enter this, type in your questions. And as these come up, I will address them. So the NSE is a platform. The first model which we released in this product portfolio is the NSE 3000 appliance. It has two 1 gig ports, which can be used as either copper RJ45 or as SFP. These can be used as WAN ports. It has four RJ45 1 gig LAN ports. This form factor can be tabletop mounted or wall mounted. Now, in terms of throughput, this is a 1 gigabit per second class product. And when I say 1 gigabit per second, you can turn on all these features that I talked about earlier. You can turn on the security features, you can turn on DPI, you can turn on the application level inspection, SD-WAN, all of that. And the throughput you will see is 950 Mbps or more. So unlike many products in this class which advertise a high top line number, which might be a gig, multi-gig, but then when you start turning on IDS, IPS, when you start turning on application inspection, the throughput keeps going down. So you need to actually budget for a much more expensive product than what the headline throughput number would suggest. The NSE 3000 generally delivers 900 Mbps plus of 5 volt throughput. In terms of side-to-side throughput, the number is 600 Mbps, which is generally more than adequate for most distributed enterprises in the small and medium business space. In terms of users, the guidance we give to folks who ask how many users and devices are supported is 300 users, 500 devices. This is not a hard limit. Instead, this is advice based on the approximately 1 Gbps of WAN throughput that this product offers, right? And the only limiting factor here is the WAN throughput of 1 Gbps. We've had users who've used this product with many more devices than listed here. So this product has been used, the NSE 3000. It was launched over a year ago. It's been used by hundreds of customers with pretty good feedback. As I mentioned, that it's managed by CN Maestro. Many of our customers have commented that it's been easy to get to know this product and use it without much training because it uses the same interfaces as our Wi-Fi products, the same management language as the switching. So the transition from using Cambium Wi-Fi, Cambium switching, and including SD-WAN from Cambium, including security from Cambium, is a fairly smooth switchover. So why should this product be of interest to you? What is the value proposition here? Firstly, as I highlighted at the beginning, it's a converged device that in a single box, you get a bunch of different features. And as I said, it includes SD-WAN, includes all the security features that you'd need in a small or medium-sized business, as well as the network services. All that included in this single product. Secondly, it's simple to use and deploy. For us, it's been very important to make sure that when it comes to this segment, the small and medium business, often there's no dedicated IT. Often it's an MSP that needs to be able to deploy a large number of these products with minimal customization, with minimal requirements of going through some complicated setup process. Like every other product, it's zero touch. You plug it in, it onboards to CN Maestro, gets into your account. You can pre-provision it in CN Maestro. It gives you visibility into the security status of your site through the same interface that you use to manage your networking. And combined with our CN Matrix switching and enterprise Wi-Fi 6 products, you can deploy a complete branch with these products from Cambium, all managed by CN Maestro. I talked about LAN vulnerability assessment, and often when it comes to our customers who have tried this, have deployed this in a POC, this has been the feature which they've highlighted. They're often in comments as they have not previously looked into scanning the devices that are in the network. They have found devices that they thought were patched up to date, but were not when revealed by the LAN vulnerability scan. And this gives you an added layer of protection, because as we know, you don't need to just worry about attacks coming in from the outside. The traditional attacks that are caught by IDS, IPS, somebody trying to send traffic through your firewall that's directly attacking your server. Now that's one traditional way of one traditional threat to your network. But more often, what happens is that you have some other device in your network, whether it's somebody's laptop or it's an old printer that's not been updated in terms of firmware, and has a known vulnerability that's been lying around for weeks, months, years. And somebody then exploits this to attack that particular network and that particular device, and then uses that device as a launching pad to attack your Windows server, for example. So it's important to not just protect your high value targets directly and keep your high value targets up to date. It's also important to ensure that all the other devices in our network don't have any known vulnerabilities, and if so, take corrective action. And that's really the way you go about securing your network. So that's a really unique feature, and once you have the opportunity to try this product, I'm sure you'll find this very useful. And the other, of course, is as I mentioned earlier, it's not just laptops and cell phones in your network. There are a large number of IoT devices, and increasingly these devices are outnumber your laptops. And many of these cannot be updated or are not part of the regular update bulletins you get. Historically, the way you would secure these devices is to keep them completely isolated, put them on a separate VLAN, block them from internet access. But you really can't do that nowadays with many of these devices, because the users on site need to interact with these devices. Many of these devices really have no local management or a local server they talk to. They talk to something in the cloud, so you can't block them from internet access either. So this is where our AI/ML based identification of these devices comes into play, gives you an accurate inventory of what these devices are, and lets you monitor them and make sure that your network is secure. So pause here. If there are no questions, I'd like to pose a question to you and ask whether you have any comment on whether you see an increasing number of IT, IoT, OT devices in your networks that you're managing, and whether you do have a solution that keeps track of them and manages them. And secondly, is vulnerability assessment something that you do today? And if not, would your customers be interested in seeing what the status of the network is? In fact, we have one particular partner of ours who uses this particular tool to emphasize the importance of looking out for vulnerabilities in a network. What they do is take an NSE, install it in that particular location, let it run for a day or so, and then show their customer, hey, look, this is what the NSE detected, and you might think that you don't need this level of security, but just look at the holes that we found in your network and the kind of vulnerabilities that would have gone unnoticed if you're not keeping track of this. Do you think that is something that would be useful to your customers? Okay. Moving on, what are the areas, the verticals that we have found this product to be resonating with our customers? Now, obviously, the product itself is not limited to any particular vertical, but we have found that these are certain areas in which we have seen the highest level of interest. One of them is quick serve restaurants. Like many of the most businesses that have a public facing environment, these have networks for their internal processes and internal users. They also have networks that cater to guest customers. So they have this requirement of making sure that the business critical point of sale system traffic always goes through, whether it's an active or backup link. Many of them historically might have used MPLS, but they're moving to a regular commercially available internet access now. These often tend to require site-to-site VPN, especially if they are smaller chains. So the NSE fits quite well there. Their internet bandwidth tends to be few hundred Mbps to a gig. Another is K-12 in schools. And here again, the DNS-based categorization and filtering comes in pretty useful because depending on your local regulations, there might be requirements to block out certain traffic, especially if the funding for IT is through some of the government-funded projects like E-rate. So this can help you meet those kind of requirements for blocking traffic without having to go for a secondary solution from a separate vendor. Instead, that's all integrated into the NSE. Another area we've seen the NSE deployed is RV parks, campsites, and many of these deployments also not only make use of Cambium's enterprise networking products, they also make use of some of our fixed wireless broadband products to distribute internet access through a 60 gigahertz point-to-multipoint EPMP products. And again, the single pane of glass comes in really useful here. You have CN Maestro managing both your wireless backhaul as well as the access network, SD-WAN security. Luxury homes is another area. Homes with multiple APs, a switch, and maybe an NSE that protects that location. And of course, across all small and medium businesses, the distributed enterprise with lots of smaller locations which need to connect up to a central hub over VPN. Smaller medical facilities, urgent care clinics, dentist offices, smaller bank locations, again, which tend to be highly distributed and require not only securing of on-site traffic, separation of perhaps guest or less sensitive traffic from the most sensitive traffic, making sure that you have an always on connection, having a primary backup link, and of course having VPN links back to the central headquarters. And again, this is not an exhaustive list. These are some examples of where we have found people deploying the NSE over the past year. So again, as a reminder, if you do have questions, feel free to type them in. We'll also have time after this presentation. We'll have plenty of time for questions, but if you do have any, please make sure you type them up. So here's a comparison with various competitors in this particular class. I'll not go through every detail. You will have the slides available in order to go through them. But I'd like to just highlight a few points. Right? First of all, Cambium allows you to have a complete networking, to have stack unification, to have a complete on-branch networking portfolio all through Cambium, Wi-Fi switching, and SD-WAN, which not all of the competitors offer. And each of these products is best in class. We have excellent Wi-Fi 6, 6E, we have Ethernet switching, as well as now the NSE. LAN vulnerability assessment is again something very unique to the NSE. The same goes with IoT. Now, many vendors do offer IoT security, but that tends to be a separately licensed feature. With the NSE, on the other hand, what you get is all integrated. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on the licensing when I talk about pricing, but the headline here is that the NSE is an all-in product. You buy the NSE, you buy a CN Maestro subscription, you don't need to buy any other licenses. So we have this IoT security integrated as its application visibility and control. In terms of throughput, again, don't just look at the headline number, look at a number with all features turned on. And here again, the NSE stands out. You don't need to upgrade to a higher class product simply because you turned on all these features. And you have the very competitive pricing here. When you combine the subscription along with hardware, we are very competitive in this space. And then again, keep in mind that the base subscription is all that you need. Often when it comes with other vendors, you'll be buying additional subscriptions in order to enable the features that you do want. and that would bump up your TCO there. While with NSE, all in, you you can enable whatever feature you want. You don't need to research what license you need. And I'd also like to mention these are MSRP prices, and obviously we have a standard partner discounts for this, as well as a special pricing promotion we are running right now that we'll discuss later. So I'd just like to dig a bit deeper into one particular application of the NSE. The reason I brought this up is that traditionally, when it comes to a business that requires reliable internet access, a business that is dependent on internet access, maybe because it's running a point of sale system, maybe it's something like a reservation system that needs to be always on, the uptime for WAN is really important. On the other hand, we know MPLS is really expensive. We also know that direct internet access, or even a commercial connection that you get off from Comcast or AT&T is pretty reliable. It's not quite there, but it is pretty reliable. So increasingly, many of these businesses choose to just put in 2 WAN links, not use MPLS, and instead use SD-WAN to prioritize traffic and give the uptime. Or maybe go for an intermediate solution where you have a low bandwidth MPLS link, which might be in the tens of Mbps, coupled with a high bandwidth internet access of several hundred Mbps. And when things are fine, when the high-speed internet link is on, they want guest traffic to be allowed through, they want all traffic to go through. But when there are issues with that link, and say that link has a drop, they want traffic to switch over to the MPLS link, the lower bandwidth link. But when you do that, make sure that only business critical traffic goes through. That is one use case. The other use case is in case there is congestion, even if it's just one link, in case there is congestion, how do I prioritize the traffic that's important to my business? If there's contention for traffic between, say, somebody downloading somebody watching Netflix or somebody downloading an Xbox update, how do I make sure my Teams call quality is high? How do I make sure that my point of sale traffic is not competing for bandwidth? That's another use case for this. So both of these can be met using the NSE. And again, as I mentioned, that all the control is based on applications, making it very easy to configure. It lowers the cost for the end user and our partners, because you're replacing the ongoing cost of MPLS circuits with something much more low cost, much more cheaper broadband connection. At the same time, you make sure that you maintain the reliability in order to, in terms of both uptime, in terms of the SLA for availability, as well as in terms of prioritization. And of course, the savings there can be reused by the business elsewhere. So this goes into a little bit more detail as to what we could do. If you're familiar with our Wi-Fi portfolio, you know that we have a full firewall and app control on the AP. But with the NSE, you can now make sure that all your traffic crossing the WAN link, whether it's from a wireless or wired source, goes through the same level of inspection. You can choose to, for example, block peer-to-peer traffic if required, blocking applications like BitTorrent. Conversely, prioritizing the applications that are important to your business at your WAN link. And again, making sure that you are using your WAN links right, making sure that, say, guest traffic goes only over the higher speed, lower cost WAN link. When you do have some kind of failover occurring, make sure that only the business critical traffic goes over that. So the NSE works together with our Wi-Fi AP and switching to make sure that the business is able to maintain that high level of performance for all its applications. So a little bit more detail on the pricing for the NSE. And the numbers you will see there are all MSRP, so obviously our standard discounts apply. So you have the hardware, but besides that, you also need a CN Maestro subscription. Keep in mind that the NSE is a security product which needs regular updates in terms of, say, IDS IPS signatures. When it comes to things like DNS categorization, we don't rely on, say, outdated databases that are downloaded onto the system. A DNS categorization, for example, happens in real time. We get real-time feeds from an upstream provider, a reputable upstream provider who constantly monitors all new domains and websites and categorizes them. Because the threats are not from domains, or the threats are not from domains that have been around for years and years, right? If you look at the pattern of where malware originates, where the command and control centers for all these attacks are, these are websites that have just been set up. So it's important to have this kind of monitoring of the internet in general being done in real time. So the NSE talks to our services in the cloud in order to get the latest data on all these, whether it's GeoIP, whether it's signatures for IDS, IPS, whether it's DNS categorization, or one of the many security features. So you do need a CMeister subscription for all these features to function. As is the case with our other products, these are offered in 1, 3, and 5-year terms. You also have the part numbers for the extended warranty beyond the initial 1-year product. And many organizations also prefer taking in the Cambium Advanced Care upgrade. What this gives you over the standard warranty and the subscription year is next business day advanced replacement for the hardware. So since this is a WAN product, you definitely need high uptime. And in the event that there should be a need for you to replace hardware, this offers you advanced hardware replacement at a very competitive price. But as I mentioned earlier, when it comes to licenses, there's just one subscription. You do not need a separate DNS subscription. You don't need a separate application inspection subscription or a separate advanced SD-WAN subscription. The one that you purchase with the NSE gives you all these features. So this price is even more attractive than it looks at first glance when you compare and add up all the different subscriptions that you need to purchase with some of our competitors. Now, to add on to that, we are currently running a promo. And this promo applies if you buy the NSE hardware with a 3-year subscription. So you can see that's a pretty steep discount. It's $302 for the NSE 3000 hardware and a $305 price for the 3-year subscription. So all in for $607, you get a hardware as well as a 3-year subscription. This is available to all our partners right now. So you would not have seen it advertised, but this is an offer that we're offering to this webinar. There's no limit in terms of the number of units you can purchase. It's currently running and will run through Q1, end of Q1 next year. So if you have not yet tried the product, this is a great opportunity for you to acquire this with a license, to deploy it at some of your customers and actually try it out in the field. So why would our partners care about the NSE? So firstly, as I've mentioned through this webinar, this gives you a full stack solution. Unify your stack, and in case you're today offering, maybe part of it, maybe just the access network, it's a really easy transition for you to include security and SD-WAN into your solution, thereby getting a bigger share of the budget that your customers have allocated to the network and security. If you have experience with our Wi-Fi and switching portfolio, we stand by the quality of our products. We offer excellent support and service, and you can expect the same from us when it comes to the NSE. And when you include security and SD-WAN, obviously there's a bigger share of customers that you can reach. Businesses are looking for a complete solution. If you do not offer security SD-WAN today, this gives you an opportunity to broaden your portfolio. And of course, pricing pressures are always there. When it comes to switching, cost per port just keep going lower. When it comes to Wi-Fi, again, there are downward pressures on Wi-Fi, except when when there's a generational change, the early adopters for Wi-Fi pay a premium. But in general, the cost for connecting a device to Wi-Fi just keeps going down. While the same pressures are there on SD-WAN and security, customers are generally less sensitive about pricing in this field. So when you include security SD-WAN in your portfolio, that gives you an opportunity to maintain those higher margins through this. And overall, the TAM for security and SD-WAN is much bigger. And in order to promote the NSE right now, as I mentioned, we are running the special promo. The pricing that I mentioned earlier of $302 for the hardware and $305 for a 3-year subscription, that holds good through end of Q1. So if you're looking for an opportunity to deploy this, to try this out and have not yet done so, this will help you, get started on this. The pricing with the promo is pretty attractive. And while this, and in general, the NSE is part of our NFR program, and you can always get an NSE product through that program. But right now, the promo pricing itself is pretty attractive. So we do have a bunch of resources that you can use that's available on our partner portal. We have more than 200 customers and these are unique customers, not just deployments, that have used the NSE in a wide variety of deployments: distributed enterprises, small businesses, as I mentioned, schools, urgent care clinics, luxury homes, all of these. And the number of customers using these just keeps growing. We do have some case studies that are linked to here, and you'll be able to access post this webinar. As usual, we have a data sheet and solution guide. There's also a short YouTube video that in a few minutes goes over some of the NSE stock features. You'll see some interesting screenshots from CN Maestro there. And if you need access to a product presentation, again, it's accessible to our partner portal there. So all these resources are available to you right now. So I'll wait and see if there are any questions. If you have any questions as to how this product could be deployed, any questions on the subscription, the product, the features, feel free to ask. So I'd also like to mention that we have several battle cards. What product are you using today? Are you today using Meraki, Fortinet, Sophos, any of these others? If you'd like to compare how we stand up to these, we do have the battle cards on our partner portal. Again, you can sign into our partner portal, put in NSE battle cards in the search box, and you will see details on a comparison. So I'll very quickly run through some of these. So how do we compare with Meraki MX67? We are superior in terms of throughput. In terms of pricing, we are pretty attractive. And of course, in terms of subscription, as I mentioned, we have an all-in subscription that gives you all these features. Right. And again, the features that stand out unique are the LAN vulnerability assessment and IoT security. We have comparison with Sophos here. Again, I'll not go into every in the line-by-line detail, but we offer you stack unification with great enterprise Wi-Fi, and so many of the other features that we talked about earlier stand out as unique versus Sophos. We have comparison with Fortinet. Also, same with SonicWall, WatchGuard, Barracuda, and others. So all of these will be accessible to you through our partner portal. All right. So if there are no questions, I'd like to thank you all for your time. As I mentioned, we are running this special promotion in terms of pricing for this month through all of Q1 next year. So feel free to get in touch with Cambium or with me personally if you have any questions about this product, and we'd be happy to support you through your initial deployments. As you know, as you might have experienced with some of other products, we are always happy to help our customers who are getting the feet wet with new products, maybe even walk through the initial setup. We do have plenty of training resources, videos available on our learning portal. And this is a product that's been going through a lot of feature additions over the past year since we have introduced it. So we keep a regular cadence of releases, and it's very it's quite there isn't a steep learning curve to adding this product to your portfolio. Since if you're familiar with CN Maestro, the configuration monitoring dashboards follow a similar theme as our Wi-Fi and switching products. So I'd encourage you to make use of this special promo that we have going on to try this out in some deployments. So so we'll conclude here. Thank you again for your time, and hope you have a good rest of the week.